All right, we're talking Xfinity at Pocono. Real quick, the last two races here have been a bit of a wreck fest. We've had a big one in both the last two races here, and really, I mean, we can look back more, but the reason I've stopped looking back, like clearly like I did in the truck video, I look back at some other optimal lines and some previous races and stuff, but I don't do that as much outside of for videos and stuff because the quality of drivers in both the two lower series has just incredibly just dropped stupid fast. And in terms of who's been racing around, I really do think really around like last 2-3 years is gives you a good idea of what to expect. When we're looking at the Pocono races, clearly 2020 was a bit interesting. We ran this in June and we had quite a lot of people get involved in wrecks. We had Brandon Jones get wrecked right off the bat. We had Graff and Williams get involved. Harrison Burton has wrecked twice here at Pocono. The two times he's raced this track in the exact same spot. He's lost it out of turn one, basically in the center off. He gets sideways and either hits the inside wall or the outside wall. As I said, we've seen a big one at usually in stage 2 in both these races. I think it's whenever the field gets jumbled up a little bit and some guys try and overdrive themselves or put themselves in situations to where they shouldn't necessarily be there. Like last year, we saw the wreck that Justin Haley was hit pretty hard. He couldn't breathe. We've had 2 red flags in both these races as well. So it's been pretty crazy. Ryan Vargas, I was trying to remember what race it was. Ryan Vargas, the dead crew member Juju, did not work out for Ryan Vargas last year. He plowed right into Justin Haley and started crying in the interview. So, side note, this is about the only times I've seen the dead crew member Juju backfire, and it was with Ryan Vargas. When we look at how these races have been playing out, and we look at how they're getting kind of crazy, we're I don't think we see this race go green with how the Xfinity Series has drove this year and how the people are driving this year and the people that we are most likely going to see up front this year. I don't think that we're going to see this race go green in stage 3. And so while we do need to pay attention to who's been fast this year and who's carried speed at the intermediate tracks this year, I don't think it's necessarily a end-all be-all. For an example, we had Ryan Sieg. Was it last year? I believe it was. It was 2021. Let me just make sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2021. Ryan Sieg is running in the 5th position late in stage 3. He has to pit and take a splash of fuel. Just due to how long this race is, and Pocono is always a fuel mileage race. But similar to what I talked about in the truck series, to where you have to pit right before the end of the stages, just like a road course, we're going to have some teams that are going to be forced to be starting higher up in certain stages just due to the fact that they were going to pit before the end of the stage. And Ryan Sieg is an example. Like, if Sieg gets a yellow in the last 40 laps of the race last year, which is really the only time the race went green. The race went green from lap 50 to lap 90. That was the longest stretch. It was a 41-lap run at the end of the race. Past that, we had an 11-lap run, we had a 4-lap run, we had a 1-lap run, a 7, a 3, a 2, and then a 41 out of nowhere. The year before, when we look at the average laps ran, we have 1, 1, 7, 3, 15, 5, 1, 12, 13, and 2. Let's continue to go back some more, and let's go ahead and look back at the 2021 race here or 2019 race here at Pocono. Average green flag run is 9.6 laps. So when we look at the runs individually, it's 6, 2, 2, 6, 20, 38, 1, and 2. So clearly, two back-to-back green-white checkers with some guys spin out and cause an instance. Let's go all the way back and look at 2018 real fast, just to kind of nail in how this race is probably going to be really stupid towards the beginning and the end. 2018, The race begins with a 26-lap run, and then we have a 1-lap run. We have a 17, 2, a 1, and then a 35-lap run, average green flag run of 13.7. So the reason I'm bringing this up is I think, and the Truck Series has a chance to get stupid as well because it is the final race before the playoffs, but this race for Xfinity, I think the leaders are going to be safe in terms of getting taken out and involved in a wreck. I don't see them wrecking for like the top 4 in this race. Excuse me, they can, but I don't see it happening. I see people run into issues anywhere from, like 7th to 24th. I think that is the danger zone. And when we look at the drivers in this race, who are the people that are going to run into issues? I already touched on Harrison Burton has spun out twice in the exact same spot the last 2 years. This is a difficult track. Look, Pocono, I understand the race and it's boring, but the Pocono is such a great racetrack to determine skill on, to determine where the team is in terms of speed, in terms of aerodynamics, in terms of what they're bringing to the track, and to drive. Pocono's awesome. To watch, I understand it's boring, but not all races are interesting. Please bring IndyCar back to Pocono. Don't blame the track, blame the drivers. Anyway, when we're looking at the drivers in this race, we have a lot of people. I believe one guy is going to go home from qualifying, but when we look at the field, Ronnie Bassett, probably not going to have the speed. Dirt cheap at $4,500, all right? Probably not going to have the speed, but if he makes the race, I think he can finish 30th, 29th, might be enough to fit in a lot of our good guys, because there ain't no way in hell I'm playing Jesse Owuji. Okay, we ain't doing with Jesse right now. Okay, maybe he'll have another naval commitment and he won't be able to, start the race or anything. Maybe we could just can we declare war with somebody so Jesse can be in a combat zone, so we don't have to worry about him anymore. But I'm concerned about Stephen Parsons making a mistake. I'm concerned about David Starr making a mistake. I'm concerned about Sammy Smith stepping over the line, causing the mistake. We've seen Brandon Jones have issues here. We've seen, as I just said, Harrison Burton here. Sammy Smith is going to have a lot of motor for this track, okay? This is a situation where Sammy Smith might be stepping into a very difficult situation. Santino Ferrucci has ran this track before, ran fine last year, but it's always a situation where maybe he might overstep the line. And certainly people like Kyle Sieg Kyle Sieg. I was like, why? They switched the numbers again. Kyle's in the 38, where Ryan Sieg is in the 39 this week. And Kyle Sieg is a guy that I might be concerned about. Same thing with Raja Caruth. I've been very high on Raja this year, and rightfully so. He hasn't ran poorly. Nobody's been playing Raja Caruth, but let's talk about Alpha Beta Prime Racing real quick, and the fact that they've destroyed every good car they've had. Okay, like I would really appreciate if Tommy J. Martins would just go into a corner and be quiet, okay? I understand you're mad that Gregson destroyed one of your race cars, okay? But your drivers have destroyed the rest of your race cars, all right? So Raja Caruth, right now, he's being told, look, Raja, we really can't afford to destroy this vehicle, okay? We're running low on our inventory, okay? Our guys are busting our ass, repairing all our mistakes, and everybody knows once you get into a cycle of having to repair equipment or not performing that well, instead of using that time to improve your equipment and get better, you stay where you're at. Okay, so Sage Karam, Raja Caruth, I'm concerned about them having issues there. Okay, Stenhouse Jr. going to run hard. Scott, I've said it before, I'll say it again. He is here to just have a good time and win. He pushed Jade Buford out of the roll of the car because look, Jade gets him to start this team. Hold on, I gotta sneeze real fast. Look, Scott and Jade get together. They want to go racing. Scott very quickly sees that while Jade is not destroying every car, he can have a way better time and a chance to actually win races if he just sells out to RCR and whoever wants to run that. So he takes Jade out. He finds it way more fun and he has, come on, Scott has FU money. He can afford to just tear up equipment and just tell guys to go for the win. That's why we've seen Reddick perform very well in this car and get in the wall because he's putting push. Same thing with Stenhouse. Like, Stenhouse can be put in this car, told, just bring home the wheel. Run it as hard as you can. If you wreck it, you wreck it. That's fine. And so, Stenhouse is a guy that you might not necessarily look at as a guy who might. This is gonna sound weird talking about Stenhouse, but you see him enter this race and you're like, he's not going to destroy the car. It's Stenhouse. He's run in here to try and run well. Stenhouse is a guy who I see either finishing fourth or wrecking the car this week. And so same thing with Brandon Brown. Brandon Brown has had a lot of issues this year. They're needing to take gigantic leaps and gain speed. And so this is a race where I'm very concerned about people running into issues and causing a lot of wrecks. And the 5K range specifically this week is packed full of what ifs and potentials and guys that can perform extremely well and guys that can absolutely ruin your day. Practice is going to be huge here, and we're not even going to see that many laps from the practice session. We might see, depending if we get a yellow in practice, we might see maybe like 3 or 4 completed laps from everybody. And so we're looking at teams who show the speed in practice. Like, regardless of not how long practice is, you can't fake speed here. I've said that before. I'll say it again. And so I'm going to look to trust a good amount of the practice speed and compare that with how they've ran at the intermediate tracks this year. Once we get past that and we understand how this race is probably going to shake out, and we look back at how a lot of chalk, not a lot of chalk plays, but guys that are contenders are most likely going to get wrecked in this race. Let's just put it out there. We're going to have good cars get wrecked in this race. Last year, we had Harrison Burton, Justin Haley, and Riley Herbst get crashed. 2 years ago, we have Brandon Jones, Harrison Burton, and Daniel Hemrick, Noah Gregson, and Austin Cindric run into issues in this race. These are good cars, okay? Run in here. This is not a situation where we're just having, guys be stupid and, wreck each other and stuff. These are just good guys making mistakes, get involved in poor situations. 3 races ago, we have Brandon Jones again. I believe this was his third or second season. I don't remember. We have Jones running into issues. We have who else? I think this might be the first race where everybody actually survived pretty decently. 4 races ago, who are the people that are involved here? Okay, yeah, so this is the one I was thinking of. 4 races ago, we have Christopher Bell get involved in a wreck. We have Chase Briscoe get involved in a wreck. We have Justin Allgeyer get involved in a wreck. We have Michael Annett get involved. And we have Brandon Jones get involved. And so going through, we're seeing that we're seeing that Pocono is very much a monster race. I mean, this is we're absolutely gonna be tearing some good cars up in this race. So I will not be shocked when we see a 10K guy get wrecked this week. When we see a 9K guy get involved in a wreck this week. It's just going to happen, okay? We need to understand that. We need to understand that and this is why Pocono seems to me, at least right now where my brain is at, I'm okay taking a little bit more risks here. Maybe not necessarily building 30 lines hoping for a wreck fest and stuff, but maybe we play guys that are a bit off the radar a little bit, guys that you might not normally look at. I know Brandon Jones has been wrecked a lot here, but maybe we look a little bit more at Brandon Jones. Maybe we lean a little more to Landon Castle. Maybe we have some interest in Daniel Hemrick. Maybe we have some interest in Sam Mayer this weekend. That's just how it is. So I would preface, I guess, both these races, Truck and Xfinity, but Xfinity Series for real right now is that there's a good chance we're going to have some chalk guy get involved in a wreck. That's just how it's going to be. We're going to have some good cars get involved in a wreck. That's just how it's going to be. And so keep that in mind. When we go through and look at, what does Pearce have this sorted by? I see what he's got it sorted at, which is a good thing. I won't put this on screen, but I like the way that Pearce has it sorted right now. It's really what I was going to look at anyway, and we'll kind of go in and, okay, so first off, I'll get into the picks and stuff in a minute. But when we look at colleague racing, the reason I mentioned Landon Castle, Daniel Hemrick a few moments ago, and AJ Allmendinger is because, look, yes, Pocono's one groove racetrack. However, if you are trimmed out down the straightaways and you can carry speed in the corner, specifically down the front straightaway, like if you can get way more speed down the front straightaway and not completely miss turn 1, you're going to be carrying more speed into the tunnel turn. You can lose it in turn 3, as long as you have the speed to catch it back up in the front straightaway, you're going to be fine. Looking at Colleague Racing and seeing how they've ran at Pocono the last few years, I'm interested in Colleague Racing because they're going to be a little trimmed out, you know, and I think Pocono is a race that will reward that. I understand that if, you know, on restarts, and certainly if AJ or the other Colleague guys, you know, start, you know, mid top 10, somewhere around there, they're going to have some dirty air, and yes, that can hinder them. However, once we go green, I'm very interested in AJ Allmendinger. This is a situation, as I just said, look, we're gonna see good guys get involved in wrecks this week. That's just how it always goes at Pocono. AJ Allmendinger is somebody that we've seen start up front, run into issues because they're too trimmed out, but he's $9,300. This is a huge discount, AJ Allmendinger, on a car that we know is going to be trimmed out. Going to be extremely aerodynamic down all these straightaways, through these corners. Okay, and so somebody like AJ Allmendinger is somebody that I want to have some interest in this week. I think this is a situation where AJ can capitalize on other people running into issues and situations. Outside of that little guy that I'm interested in, Justin Allgeyer, Noah Gragson, Sam Mayer are going to be guys that we're targeting just due to the fact that they've been extremely fast at the intermediate tracks this year. And Allgeyer is really coming into his own right now. He's showing outrageous speed consistently, going all the way back. Ever since we went to Dover, it's been all Allgeyer. You know, look at how this man has been running. Fastest car at Dover, fastest car at Darlington, third fastest at Texas, second fastest at Charlotte, best at Nashville. You know, and oh my God, he's talking about Atlanta. This guy's an idiot. When you look at what Junior Motorsports brought to Atlanta and how, look, that's real racing. If you guys like the 80s, 90s, and 70s, or maybe not 90s because it's more pack racing, but the older style Daytona races, it's all about setup and what the team's bringing in, man. Allgeyer is looking good. That team is firing on all cylinders. I think Allgeyer is very much the favorite entering this week. I don't think Gibbs is necessarily there. Not only do we have to worry about how the team is trimmed out and what they're bringing to the track, but we're seeing Pocono is a very high wear racetrack. We're seeing gigantic fall off. And one of Ty Gibbs' weaknesses is taking care of his tires. Just because he's young, he doesn't have that much experience taking care of the tires. Like we've seen a lot at Dover, where he'll start off good and kind of fall back. You know, Ty Gibbs struggles at high wear racetracks, and that's really what Pocono is. I know you don't think about it right off the bat. You see Pocono as so many different things other than a high wear racetrack, but that is really something that hinders Ty Gibbs, and I'm very, very worried about him. And I like Allgeyer more. I like Junior Motorsports way more this week. And I would honestly consider not focusing on Ty Gibbs. And we've seen even on the other races this year is that Ty Gibbs necessarily isn't the fastest guy at intermediates right now. It isn't just the walk away, or not the walk away, he isn't just walking away from the field like we kind of thought he would when the season started, and he's kind of lost the speed that he's had at intermediate tracks this year, you know. And I mean, granted, lost it going from like a second average running position to a third or like a fourth. But Ty Gibbs at 10.7 is a bit concerning here, especially when I don't think this is necessarily a track that plays into his strengths. And I like Allgeyer, and the fact that he's 10.5 and he's not like 11.3 is perfectly fine. I'm very much looking at, you know, Allgeyer, Gragson, Mayer, even Barry, before I get to Gibbs. Once we start getting by those guys and really, like, you know, the top 5 contenders for a lap leader and stuff, and I really do think that this is a situation where we're probably going to have, let me just look real quick, due to the fact that we're probably going to split laps led and fast laps. That's maybe leaning more towards one driver than another one. However, when you look back at optimal lineups, there's clearly like one guy who is at least going to get 10 DraftKings points in terms of fast laps and 10 DraftKings points in terms of lap led, possibly a bit more. Once you get past that, it is a situation where we're going to have at least a second lap leader here. Now, whether it be them staying out during a stage, whether it be them gain it on a restart, whatever the case is, I do believe that we're going to have 2 lap leaders in this race. That could very easily be, what the heck is going on here? Hold on. All right. I don't recall what point I was making at the time. I've spent like 2 minutes trying to refresh my stuff over here. Oh, lap leaders. So in my head of how I want to go about this, I'm assuming that I'm going to probably want to build, unless practice shows me differently, which it can't always. It can't always do. I think it's important to have an idea of how you want to approach a race and then see how practice goes and kind of compare those two approaches and see what teams are meeting those expectations, what teams are overperforming or underperforming, things of that nature. Anyway, I like the idea of going Allgeyer and a 9K guy right now that can be up there and lead laps. I think Sam Mayer makes an interesting play. I think AJ Almandinger makes a really interesting play here. Even somebody like Josh Berry. I don't necessarily think I want to go 10K guys. I think it's very much going to be Allgeyer and probably another 9K guy. Once we get past that, since the variable of guys being taken out in this race getting stupid at some point is very real, I think Herbst, Castle, Jones, Moffitt, Brown, probably not Brown. Actually, let me move this around. Hold on. Because I realize I'm not going in order of salaries. So let me bring up the salaries real quick. So anyway, I don't think I necessarily want to go two 10K guys. Let's just open this up. All right, I got the salaries up now. The fact that we do have Cole Custer back in the field this weekend for Bobby Daughter, we've already seen him win a race. We understand that this is a Stuart Haas car, so please don't ask me about that. I don't know if Custer... Now, there is a very high chance that they bring the setup that Briscoe won in 2020. And even some of the ones that Cole Custer has ran here. I want to see specifically what he's bringing from practice session, because two 10K guys that I like the most seem to be Allgeyer and Custer. Those seem to be the two guys that can most likely pay stuff off. Once you get to the 9K range, Barry Stenhouse, Mayer, Almandinger, I think all these guys are available, and they should be in the pool. I don't know if people necessarily jump on Stenhouse, and I think the situation where Sam Mayer, and yet again, this is a very difficult track for some drivers, we're not exactly sure on what Sam can do here in terms of performing, in terms of not wrecking the field or not wrecking anything, but Sam has been incredibly impressive here. Last year, he finished the race in 18th. I think that's perfectly fine for last year. If he can show me speed that can be in the top 5, or that I can see him getting in the top 5, which we've seen a gigantic improvement this year in terms of speed. Like, Dover, 7th fastest, Darlington, 8th fastest, Texas, 4th fastest, Charlotte, 3rd fastest. $9,500 for Sam Mayer, that's not bad as well. And like I said, this is a race where I feel comfortable having exposure to guys that I wouldn't, not saying I wouldn't normally hit Sam Mayer, but going out of the way to try and get off ownership in this range is perfectly okay. Hill, Hemrick, Jones, Herbst are all going to be based on what they show in practice and what they show in qualifying, just due to the fact that they have a very high chance of starting very similar or very close to where they will finish. I think Sammy Smith is going to run into issues. I think he will. I think he is going to struggle, but that is just me. When I know we've seen a lot of talk about Austin Hill and Sheldon Creed on and off on Twitter. I think Creed has just run into a lot of bad luck. I think him being $8,000 at 40 points to pay this off, I think that's fine. This is the cheapest we've seen him since basically since a month ago, and the second cheapest he's been this year. Yet again, situation where this race can have a lot of volatility. Creed and Castle at $8,000 and $79,000 make a lot of sense to me. Ryan Sieg, as I said, ran strategy last year and was in a top 5 position with 6 to go when he had to pit for fuel. I mean, man, the door is wide open this week. I think the pool is very, very huge this week, and that's why I feel, at least discussing how previous races have gone and showing that, hey, the wrecks are going to be here. Turn 1 is going to be deadly on these restarts. I mean, I'm at 7,200, and I've seen Brandon Brown as somebody I don't want to go to, Santino Ferrucci, Sammy Smith, but really outside of that, there's nobody that I'm just putting a hard no to right now, because all these guys can run the top 10, all these guys can play strategy to get up there, and all these guys can take advantage of crashes, and all you need from one of these wrecks is, one or two top 11 running guys to be taken out, and it makes an 8K guy or a 7K guy look more appealing. And as I'm saying that, let's talk about Landon Castle real quick. $7,900. Now, if I told you, doesn't matter who it is, if I told you that 2 top 10 guys are going to be wrecked this week, you can automatically give Castle those 2 positions plus a little more. Depending on who it is, it might be people that he raced around, or it could just be, leaders that get taken out. Whatever the case is, it makes a lot of these guys look way more appealing. And so when I'm building lines this week, nearly every line is going to be built in a way of I'm going to probably project these guys to do a little bit better than they normally would, due to the fact there's a high likelihood that they will do better than they normally will, because there will be people who wreck up front that should finish in front of them that won't finish in front of them. Going down to the value range, I need to see what NBM is doing with JJ Yaley. Wasn't as fast as we thought he would be last week at New Hampshire, but he did finish 25th. Started dead last, was extremely slow, went a lap down, didn't qualify, ran great in practice, had a mechanical issue, didn't take a queue time. I could not find out what that issue was. Now, granted, I was out of town. I was looking. I even looked today when I got back, but I can't find exactly what caused him to not take a qualifying run. And then why his speed in the race did not represent what he ran in the practice sessions, despite the fact that his practice sessions were not in queue trim. They were consecutive laps. And so whatever they changed on JJ Yaley's car took speed away from that car. I'm assuming something important, clearly something important, failed on it, but due to them replacing stuff and working on it, took away some of the speed that car had. So we need to see what he has there. I'm no way I'm playing Vargas at 6'3". Kyle Sieg, inexperienced, but at a pretty cheap price. Did he run last year? He did not. And Kyle Sieg has struggled this year outside of Fontana and Las Vegas. Very slow, riding right inside the top 30. That is not the speed that we want to see out of these cars. On top of a situation where I think it's going to be a very difficult day for him. Mason Massey, we're going to have to see what he can bring up. Like I said, Sage Karam, going to have to see what happens there. A lot of the value range is going to be dictated on practice speed and stuff. As I said earlier in this video, and that's really where I'm at. I don't know if that is helping you or not, but those are at least my early thoughts. Consider supporting Pearce and myself on the Patreon. We're doing all this stuff so you guys don't have to. We're trying to save you time. There's a reason. Look, you don't want to scrape practice data. You don't want to be around the computer at certain times during the weekend. You don't want to have to be in here updating stuff, color coordinating stuff, adding notes to these sheets, or the F1 stuff. You're paying us to help you save time. I know a lot of people but sometimes people ask, about my projections or Pearce's projections, and why they are there. In my opinion, they are not the selling point of the Patreon. It is to support myself and Pearce, and it's to save you time. This is basically a fantastic library of NASCAR DFS data and data points that you just have access to. I know it's July 21st, and I doubt anybody's going to join this late in the month, but as we continue to get around the NFL season and you continue to put more time into maybe the Monday night showdowns, maybe the Thursday night showdowns, and you lose a little time that you can do your NASCAR research with, consider joining us and allow us to, use our time to just going downhill. You know what I mean? While you're busy making NFL showdown lines on Thursday morning, we're here working on the NASCAR stuff, all right? So we'll see you guys in the next episode.